sekarang kita lanjut ke second section, which is around when you want to express a point of view. Mau belajar gimana cara memberi pandangan sehingga diterima sama orang lain. Jadi I express my opinion very often and very loudly. Jadi gue suka insecure, nanti orang-orang mikir, ini anak sotoy banget ya, kok berisik banget sih. Pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang ada dalam kepala kita mungkin bisa di-grouping jadi 4. Yang pertama, gimana caranya saya bisa membujuk lawan bicara saya untuk pikir sama seperti saya. Saya membujuk orang gitu. Kalau menurut pengalaman gue, ya the easiest thing to do for how to persuade people itu adalah kita harus alur bicara kita itu harus jelas, sehingga audiens kita juga kebawa sama alur bicara kita dan alur pikiran kita. So the first thing that we need to do, I think there are 3 steps. Ya. The first thing is formulating an objective internally. Aku kasih contoh something that is quite familiar to all of us. Di masa-masa COVID gini kan banyak project kita, banyak yang kita planning tidak bisa jalan sesuai dengan jadwal atau yang sudah diplanningkan atau yang sudah kita janjikan. Jadi banyak dari kita pasti sudah harus meminta delay gitu kan di project. Gimana caranya? Dan kita harus build an argument around it. It's a valid argument, but what will strengthen the argument more is if we give a counter to it. So, and the reason why is to address the counter, address what people may already be thinking. It has 2 things. First thing is, if we address that concern, then they will not be able to voice that concern and make us look dumb. Then the second thing is also, if you address that concern, mereka tuh pasti mikir, wah, Michelle udah mikir sampai segitunya ya, pasti faktor-faktor lain yang gue pikirin juga udah dipikirin sama Michelle, so it increases my credibility, even though mungkin belum gue pikirin juga yang lain, gitu kan. Nah, in this case, the counter could be FGD kan sudah dilakukan secara online di banyak negara yang lain gitu. Nah, then maybe one way you can address it is saying that in Indonesia kan orang yang digitally savvy itu lebih banyak muda dan kaya, ya. Jadi itu akan skew the results. Nah, nggak cukup hanya kita membuat argumen yang bagus dan yang make sense dan yang convincing, juga harus di-combine dengan influencing tactics. Influencing is more of the how you say it, right? So so there are a few tactics that I could have used in this situation. Yang pertama itu legitimating. I could have said, oh aku udah cek nih sama research teamnya kita di HQ. Nah mereka juga saranin jangan online FGD deh, nanti datanya jelek gitu. Atau mungkin gue bisa exchanging, gue bilang, nih actually ya, gimana kalau ini kan project A kan gak bisa ya jalan gara-gara gue nggak mau online. Nah, gimana kalau project B aja gue accelerate gitu kan? Nah, jadi kan kesannya I'm not trying to be lazy loh gitu. Right, so that can be an exchange as well. Sebenarnya influencing tactics kan tentu bukan hanya legitimating sama exchanging. Nah, sebenarnya influencing tactics itu ada 9. Ini berdasarkan research dari McKinsey, right? And pasti dari kalian semua sudah pernah ngelakuin tactics ini, right? Jadi yang pertama, if you see the 3, so those are hard influencing tactics where you're saying something based on your authority. The bottom 6 are soft influencing tactics where you're using a personal kind of, you're appealing to the person's personality, right? You're appealing to your relationship, right? And it's not any power that you have over them. Jadi yang pertama, legitimating, right? Which is what we already use. Kalau coalition, itu kalau misalnya sebelum meeting, kita ngomong dulu, Jor, kira-kira nanti di meeting gue bakal ngomong kayak gini, nanti lu support ya. Nah, kalau request, I want to request that we extend this deadline. Itu very flat ya, that's what most of us do by default, right? Rational persuasion is when we say, oh, okay, given the data, online FGD biasanya resultnya jelek, blah, 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 blah. Socializing is interesting because it basically tries to make the lawan bicara feel like this is their idea. Dengan tanya, oh tadi kan Tessa udah ngomong kayak gini, sebenarnya nih poinnya mirip-mirip gitu. Nah, aku cuma mau melakukan ini, bener kan? Nah, then in a way if they disagree with you, they have to disagree with themselves. So that's what you're shooting for socializing. Untuk personal appeal, it's very clear ya. Okay, come on, Jordi, we have been friends for so long, right? Can I please ask you for this favor? Nah, terus habis itu exchanging is, we already discussed this, right? It's just like bartering. Kalau consultation, this is actually very effective if you can use it well, right? But it's also very tricky because consultation is basically you have to make your lawan bicara come up with the same idea that you had. So you're kind of like semi-brainwashing mereka untuk coming up with the same idea that you wanted to have. As an expert in this area, what do you think, right? Nah, tapi it's very effective because then they will, of course, buy in into that idea. However, lo harus rancang tuh kayak alur pikirannya dia mau kayak gimana, right? Harus disetting-settingkan. And the last one is inspirational appeal, right? So inspirational appeal is when we talk about a moral or a value that you and the person or maybe the company shares gitu kan. Kayak, oh kita kan pada dasarnya kita mau bantuin orang. Nah, yang gue propose kan sebenarnya juga bantuin orang gitu kan. And so you appeal to that so that it makes it very difficult for them to say no. Itu sih. Nah, mungkin kalau nggak kebayang, aku kasih very quick example aja tentang a situation where I had to use this in the workplace. So this was with a previous team of mine, and the example is a little sanitized, right? So my boss was asking me, kamu ada isu apa yang you're passionate about yang bisa ditambahin ke rencana tahunan kita, right? Jadi I mentioned, okay, nah di konteksnya tuh bosnya tuh udah pernah ngomong tentang dia tuh very passionate about data transparency and equal access to information. Dan menurut dia, gara-gara the right people don't have the right access to the right data, right? There's a lot of problems in our country. Okay. Nah, aku sebenarnya, my proposal was very different, right? But I said, okay, jadi, so I mulai dengan story dulu kan. Okay, so I used to work very closely with desa, ya, pas dulu ngurusin sampah di Bali. Nah, di sana, it was actually very surprising to me that banyak pemerintah desa, gitu kan, tidak punya akses to budgeting tools, kan, planning tools, atau training untuk program-program di Microsoft Office dan lain-lain, right? Jadi, then I started with socializing. Kan dia tadi udah bilang nih, dia suka data transparansi sama equal access to information. Nah, informasi itu harus digunakan. Jadi, aku langsung bilang, oh ya ini sebenarnya mirip banget dengan what you said about equal access to data. Cuman sebenarnya bukan hanya data doang kan yang mereka perlu. Mereka juga perlu itu program untuk mengolah data itu. Kan mereka perlu management skills, mereka perlu resources. Tapi aku believe banget kok that equality is very important, equal access. Nah, dia terpaksa juga agree kan, iya benar sih, equality is super important, especially amongst government. Okay. Then, the next thing I said was inspirational appeal, gitu kan. Okay, nah, kan you know that a lot of government program di Indonesia tuh dilaksanakan di village level, jadi di level desa. Nah, kalau desanya nggak ada resources yang bagus atau skill yang bagus untuk melaksanakan program itu, gimana caranya kita bisa yakin kalau benefit yang didapat dari citizen kita, dari orang Indonesia dan masyarakat Indonesia itu sesuai dengan harapan, right? And then it makes it very difficult for him to say no, right? Nah, habis itu dia tanya, nah kalau dana desa gimana? Okay, then I said, oh yeah, I'm not so sure sih, but you're the expert in this, what do you think? And then dia bilang, oh sebenarnya I've never thought of that particular issue, thanks for bringing it up, let me look around it, let me look into it more and ask around. Jadi, it was quite successful in the end, and kita actually masukin ini ke program kerja kita. Jadi itu just a contoh gitu ya. Actually, each of these have different levels of effectiveness. So what you want in general is commitment. Commitment is when someone believes and buys into your cause. Compliance is, yes, I will do it because I have to or because it's easier to. Right? Nah, resistance itu kayak aku nggak mau gitu lah. Nah, sebenarnya nggak tentu what we use most often is what is most effective, right? But it doesn't mean that kalau lihat request kan paling rendah ya. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't use request at all because inspirational appeals takes a lot of time. You cannot use inspirational appeal all the time, right? So there's a time and place for each of these tactics, right? You also need to identify which one makes more sense for the kind of person you are and your personality. Nah, question B itu tentang where in the conversation should I interject? Right. Jadi ada dua hal ya. Yang pertama, ini lebih di mana aku harusnya menyela dalam bahasa Indonesianya. Nah, kalau unprompted ada dua nih. Kalau di konteks yang lebih restrain, mungkin kita harus pakai setelah orang ngomong, pause. Nah, habis kita jawab gitu kan. Kalau misalnya grupnya lebih agresif, ya bisa kita juga gunakan like the end of the last person's closing sentence langsung dijawab. kayak gini, langsung kayak okay, just like the bare minimum, the 1 microsecond, and then langsung lo masuk juga. Then unprompted, this is where, you know, maybe you're joining a debate, right? Maybe you're part of a panel, right? Where should you give your opinion, right? So if two people are speaking one after the other, meaning that there is no pause, yeah? So sometimes this is on a panel, you know, if you get onto an interview panel, this will happen often. When should you go? You should go first, because if you go first, that's the one that people remember. However, if there's a delay between speakers, kayak okay, in a debate kan mungkin lo ngomong, terus moderatornya nanggapin, terus lo ngomong lagi, terus ngomong or whatever, it's best to go last, because that's what people take home with them. This is not according to me, this is according to a Yale study, which is school Tessa also went to, promosi. But according to them, it is statistically proven that this is the case, right? They use presidential debates, I think, as their bahan untuk identify this. Okay, nah yang terakhir tentang how do you command and hold attention. Kalau presentation mungkin orang-orang ya paling parah bisa WhatsAppan aja lah sambil ngomong gitu kan. Tapi kalau lagi express your point of view, bisa loh, they just walk away. I mean, I have walked away from a lot of people trying to tell me their opinion juga. So it happens gitu kan. So there are 3 things that you need to do, right? It's a little bit more of a fight because you need to fight and carve out your own slot for time. Yang penting yang pertama, let's say your opening sentence loudly enough to be noticed. And kalau misalnya kita udah ngomong opening sentence-nya, terus tetap nggak dianggap, kita kan sering jadi, aduh, berarti ternyata opening sentence gue bego banget ya, nggak dianggap sama orang, apa gimana. Tapi sebenarnya ya honestly, most of the time, they just didn't hear you. Apalagi dengan era Zoom kayak gini, banyak kali itu gara-gara internet lo jelek aja, gitu kan. Jadi just repeat it again, wait a few seconds, and then try repeating your opening line again. The second one, after you've said your first sentence or two, you should take a pause, right, and see if everyone is focused on you. Of course, try to be as brief as possible, as direct as possible, and try to end well, gitu. Jadi, I have this tendency where dimana aku ngomong, oh yeah, so my main point is, right, we should do A. And then, karena semua orang diam, aku langsung nambahin lagi. Ya, tapi sebenarnya, ya, I also think we should do B. Because I'm nervous, I keep talking, gitu kan. But I should stop, right? I should stop and shut up and let people absorb what I just said. Yang ketiga, which I think is actually really important, especially as young professionals, maybe, right? We need to know how to fend off interrupters, right? A lot of people are just like us, trying to get attention, trying to express our point of view. Nah, in that way, we need to know how to say politely, kayak, jangan dong, aku belum selesai nih. So, of course, for me, personally, what I do is I hold up my hand and I'm like, bentar ya, gitu. But maybe that doesn't work with your personality or your context of work. So just prepare a sentence that you can immediately say without thinking. Yang terakhir, untuk yang sotoy-sotoy di sini seperti saya, ya, should I even say it at all, right? Will I be seen as a know-it-all? So in that case, one of my mentors said this line to me once, and I think I've used it as my pegangan. Hopefully it helps you guys, right? If you speak to, not to win, but to solve the problem, then there is no problem with it. Nggak mungkin salah if we just speak to solve the problem, right? In the long run, people will realize that we're just trying to solve the problem. But if we speak to win, even if we sound good, right, and even if it's perceived well, in the long run, people will see that we're just speaking to sound smart, right? So being able to differentiate that internally, right, is what helps me make the decision. Nobody can help you make your decision, right? But if this quote helps, ya silakan. Nah, mungkin kita lanjut ke third section where we lose all control, right? Kok gua ya? Loh, kok why me? Like, why did you pick on me? Gitu kan. So, in that context, gitu kan, once we have gotten over the feeling of like, I didn't do anything to deserve this, loh, kok aku sih? Gitu kan. Nah, we can move on to trying to, with very limited time, focus on only 3 things kan. Soalnya, let's be real, no one has ever delivered a speech impromptu that changed the world, right? So we need to be able, or I mean, you can, right? But it's very unlikely. So with your limited time, right? Kadang-kadang tuh lo dipanggil, cuma ada waktu di kursi lo jalan ke depan aja, gitu kan? How can you focus, right, on formulating, on delivering an effective speech. My suggestion is langsung aja breakdown jadi 3 step. Yang pertama, when you're walking, start thinking, okay, who is your audience? Right? What are their current thoughts? Like as of that minute banget. Gue yakin kok, kalau kalian panik, itu sebenarnya your pikiran jadi jernih banget. Jadi, then after that, then you can say, okay, so what are their current thoughts? And with your limited knowledge and preparation, what is a realistic objective, right? So, for example, right, maybe you will not be able to get to the point where you can sell the entire concept of what is racism, gitu kan. Nggak mungkin bisa sampai, oh guys, this is racism, you know, this is the mindset that you need to have. Okay, but what is a realistic objective that you can get to? Mungkin you just want to explain one term, right? Maybe you just want to share one experience, right? So what is that objective? Nah, yang kedua, figure out how much time you have. Personally, I really struggle with this. Sometimes it's not really clear how much time they give you, right? Jadi biasanya I plan for 2 minutes. So 2 minutes to speak, right? At the end of the 2 minutes, or kira-kira lah ya 2 minutes, I look at the audience and I see if they're still interested or if I still have a point to make. But the maximum should be 5 minutes. Yang ketiga, it's like picking a framework, right? So when you, as opposed to earlier, right? When you have time to prepare, right? Then you can actually articulate, you know, what is the argument that works best? Alur pikirannya tuh harus kayak gimana? Alur bicaranya kayak gimana? Gimana caranya gue mau audience gue feel this at this point in time? With an impromptu speech, I don't think you have that time, right? So pick a framework. These are just 2 frameworks that I use, right? But you guys feel free to pilih satu dari 2 ini yang mungkin lebih relevan sama kalian gitu. Kalau prep itu point, reason, example, point, right? So let's say that my goal is for you to turn on your video on Zoom, right? So my point is, okay, please turn on your video on Zoom. I think it's super important, right, that we all turn on our videos on Zoom. My reason why is also that I have a face to speak to. It really helps for the speaker, right? Or it really also proves that you're keeping attention, atau mungkin jadi kelihatan lo mandi atau enggak, gitu kan. Nah, then after that, example, giving a powerful story. Okay, on fact, right? Fact is more, I think, memorable. Ada feel, anecdote, and tie back, right? So on feel is, again, just start with a feeling of what you think, right? Anecdote, share the relevant story, and then tie back, go back to your objective. Fact is super effective kalau misalnya you don't have an objective in mind yet, right? And lo masih so it gives you time to, you know, say a story, be a little long-winded, agak ngorong ngidur gitu kan. And then at the end you can say, oh, so guys, my objective was this. Hopefully your story is related to that.